Welcome to Read and Think. This is where a book that I'm reading, certain phrases catch my eye and make me think, and I'm sharing with you. First up, Thomas Sowell in his Cultures and Conquests book. The first chapter we're examining in Thomas Sowell's great book is The British. Now, for those who are a bit geographically challenged, let's go over briefly what that means. When referring to the British Isles, we are looking at territories in the northwest of Europe. This is the islands here comprising the present-day United Kingdom and the Republic of Ireland. The British Isles also include the Channel Islands, which were the only part of the United Kingdom occupied by Germany during World War II, and the more remote Hebrides, Orkney, and Shetland Islands to the north. But for our purposes, we are looking primarily at this part known as England. That is what the Romans in their times called Britannia. So it became Britannia and therefore Britain in the minds of the Romans, and of course that's where its present-day name comes from. For about 1/5 of its recorded history, Britain was a conquered country, a province of the Roman Empire, and one of the more backward provinces at that. Men from other provinces ruled over Britain, but Britons did not rule over other provinces. One measure of the backwardness of pre-Roman Britain was the ease with which it was conquered by greatly outnumbered Roman soldiers and held in subjugation despite a massive and desperate uprising in 61 AD. The Romans were simply far better equipped and far better organized. In many other ways as well, the Romans represented a much more advanced civilization than existed in Britain at that point in history. Indeed, after the Romans withdrew from Britain 4 centuries later, the Britons began to retrogress, and in many respects, it was centuries after that before Britain regained the economic, social, or cultural levels it had reached as a province of the Roman Empire. What's interesting here in this regard is that the Romans eased in there because indeed they had very strong military organization, communications, and equipment. And indeed, at this point, with Julius Caesar had gone in before in Britain earlier, and later on again they established a more permanent presence there, is that between there, when the Romans finally left, that the British natives retrogressed. That's a term we're going to see a couple more times, where a more advanced civilization comes in and then leaves, and then the civilization that was there before, or the tribes or natives, all of a sudden they are retrogressing. They are not maintaining the cities, the points of trade, the communications, or anything like that from what in essence were their occupiers. And I think it's very interesting to conceive that Britain had this moment and then was left to itself, and the invasions of various other tribes, Celtic tribes, as well as other influences like the Normans. So let's stay on this. The island was divided among 30 tribes who fought fiercely amongst themselves. To the Romans, Britons were simply barbarians. While they had agriculture, weaving, craftsmen who could work in iron, and economic transactions utilizing coins, often derivative in the style from coins originating on the Channel coast of northern Europe. Disunity among the British tribes contributed to the Roman victory. A century later, under the Emperor Claudius, the Romans returned as full-scale invaders. Claudius subdued a large part of the island and was back in Rome in 6 months. Yet the battle for the remainder of Britain continued on for decades. The British tribes took up arms with savage fierceness, in Gibbon's words, but they also laid them down or turned them on each other with wild inconstancy. What's very interesting here is to see the early effects of divide and conquer strategy. This was later used by the British in India and Africa, and it is by no means unique to anybody in Western civilization. In other civilizations, it was an easy remedy towards subduing people, which is to exploit the internal divisions of a country and to use it to conquer them all. In this case, these tribes apparently had such enmity towards each other that there was just no possibility of unifying a country. And here we have it in Claudius being able to come in there and thinking smartly and strategically, able to do this in 6 months. Today, in the modern world, recent times at least, I would think Yugoslavia might be one element whereby all these disparate peoples, Serbia, Croatia, etc., Slovenia, came together under Tito in 1918 to form Yugoslavia, but of course it shattered decades later in 1991 when a lot of these internal differences happened. So we could see this happening over and over in various countries and with various tribal peoples. There needs to be some kind of binding element around them. In this case, it happened to be, I think, the Roman culture for a period of time, as well as their military might.